Assalamu
Hi,
alaikum.
Salam.
First time.
Yay.
How are you, Raanaz?
I'm fine, Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Well, thank you. Really well. It's really good to be talking to you today. As you can see, I'm not Siddiqa.
No.
Siddiqa, we've got some good news. So Siddiqa's got a new granddaughter who was born a couple of days ago.
Mubarak, Mubarak.
Very busy at the moment, looking after her daughter and granddaughter. So it's really
Oh,
happy time in the Jumma household, Alhamdulillah. So it's all good.
mashallah, that sounds.
How are you, Ranas? Tell us how you've been doing, how you've been getting on in the times of COVID-19.
Um, it's been an experience. That's
Yeah?
what I can say. Very different. Everything feels very surreal. Everything has just changed overnight. The way I've been working, the way I've been dealing with the kids, the husband, everything's just gone a bit crazy. But Alhamdulillah, I just sort of feel that it's been a great blessing because we've spent so much time together now. Um, and at first, it was just all being worried about what we're going to do, how we're going to deal with this. But as the days have gone by, I mean, it's been a good few weeks now, hasn't it? And it just sort of feels, if we just feel at home now, it's just, it's just so nice being together all the time, knowing tomorrow morning we don't need to go anywhere. We're just at home with the family again. It's just lovely.
And it's such a blessed month. I mean, to be able to spend this month with your husband and your kids and everyone around you at this time, although the external conditions around us are not ideal, just to be able to have this time with families is a really good opportunity, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, my eldest now is 8, and she's fasting as well. And she fasted last year for the first time. Uh,
Wow.
she was at school, so now it's just been so nice having her at home and fasting together, and her seeing what I'm doing all day when I'm fasting, and it's just a whole new experience for her as well as us. And it's, I mean, yes, like you said, the circumstances out there are not great. And it is really sad, and we're following all the news. But Alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala always says when you close some doors, new doors open. And I just
Absolutely.
always think that everything always happens for a reason. And this is Allah Ta'ala's way of telling us to stay at home, or to spend time with each other, because life is so short, and you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's around the corner. So we're just really embracing every single day as it's coming.
Good. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna come back to the times of COVID a bit later on in the conversation. I think really what I wanted to do today, Ranas, was just allow you to tell people about you, your career, how you started off in this world of Islamic art. And really the purpose of these conversations is for our audience to get to know a bit more about our artists and to learn a bit more about them. So really what I wanted to do is ask you, just to begin with, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you kind of fell into the world of Islamic art and became an artist.
So yeah, so I have a textiles degree, hence why I do all my work on silk and materials. Um, I've got 2 children. I've got my husband, and basically, I sort of fell into this sort of from a very, very young age. I was only very, very young. I was in primary school, and that's when I started sort of developing and knowing that art. It's not that I knew that I wanted to go down the art route. It was just I enjoyed drawing and coloring and being creative and just trying to make things. I was constantly asking my dad to buy me some more paper because I was forever cutting it up and making little, sculptures and things out of it. And then when I got to high school, I went to an Islamic school, and they took us on an art trip to a library in Manchester, where there was a calligraphist. And so I was 12, 11 it was the first year of high school, so I think 11 or
Yeah.
12 I was. And I just found it fascinating. I absolutely loved it. We only did literally one afternoon of calligraphy. I fell in love with it. Came home, opened the Quran, and I started associating what I'd learned and how I'd written it to the actual words of the Quran, and the way the letters and the shapes were formed. And then my dad started noticing me doing this, and he said, "I'll get you some calligraphy pens." But we couldn't get like sort of bamboo calligraphy pens back then. It was very difficult to
Yeah.
get hold of. Islamic art wasn't really a big deal back then like it is now. So now everyone's very lucky. Everything's out there. We've got the internet. We had nothing back then.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking a long time ago. I'm not going to give away my age, but it was a while ago. And then, so he told me to get 2 pencils, just sellotape them together to make the thickness of the bamboo pen, and he gave me our names written in Arabic. He wrote them for me, and then he said to me, try creating these words now with the pen, with the pencils that you've stuck together. And that was it. It just bloomed from there for me. One thing left to another. Then it was going on trips back home to Pakistan. We were going to the mosques and, you know, all these other sort of different places, traveling around, and I'd see Arabic or Urdu written in places. And then I started noticing all the geometry patterns and the floral design, which I was seeing in my Quran as well. So I started just sort of, without anybody teaching me anything, I just started sort of piecing things together myself.
Yeah.
And obviously, like I said, I was so young then. It was such a long time ago. I didn't have any books. Apart from the Quran, I had nothing else to refer back to, apart from the odd few sort of Islamic books that my parents had given me. And that was literally it.
But the mosques in that part of the world, you're just talking about the mosques in Pakistan and places like that. The mosques in that part of the world are so beautiful, and the intricacy of the, you know, the mosaics and the tiles and the Arabic calligraphy on the ceilings and everything like that. Do you feel like that kind of influence has really kind of helped drive the direction in which you've taken your own artwork today?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, Islamic art is so broad. There's so many different aspects of it. And there's just so much of it to learn. So every time I pick up on something new, I'm just trying to develop it. I'm trying to develop that and incorporate that into my work. It's just never ending. There's so much there to absorb, so much more information there that I don't know of yet. And what's lovely is when you go to different Islamic Muslim countries, you find similar things, but then you'll find something that just makes it very unique to that country. And then it's like, right, now I want to know about this place and I want to know about that. So, yeah.
Sorry, I think I got slightly ahead of myself there. So what I really wanted to do was understand your journey to becoming the artist that you are today. So you obviously had this really great influence. Your father was a huge driving force in your childhood. Alhamdulillah, you know, thank God for our fathers. And then you studied textiles at university. So when you finished, I mean, I'm guessing you could have taken your career in a few directions. What do you think, right, I actually want to spend my life creating beautiful pieces of artwork?
See, the thing is, when I was at high school, everybody, I mean, I was never an academic person. And I was one of those that had to really study hard to even be lucky to get a B at things. You know, I was constantly having to work really hard. But one thing I was, and that I knew that I could develop in, was art. But I got so many people, especially back then, so many people saying to me, oh, you know, why are you doing art? You need to be studying this. You need to be a dentist. You need to be a doctor. You've got to be a lawyer, solicitor, you know, all the great jobs out there. And that kind of just drove me more towards not wanting to do those things. I actually wanted to do my own thing.
You rebelled.
Yes, against it. And alhamdulillah, my dad supported me every step of the way. He never once said to me, why are you doing this? Why have you not done what every other person does? And force children into going down a route that they're not happy with. And my dad just sort of kept me going. It was my dad, really. And then here and there when I needed my mum with help and stuff, but my dad was always the one that got me the things that I needed to actually keep developing. And that's actually kind of what kept me going, really. It was my dad and those people out there that kept telling me that I couldn't do anything with my life because I was going down the art route. So
but was it a conscious decision that you made? Like when was that moment when you realized, okay, I actually want to spend my life creating art? When was that moment for you?
it was when I was 12.
Really?
Yeah, it was when I was 12. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know where it was going to take me. I didn't even know if I was going to be any good or if it was even half as decent as work that you see out there anyway. I didn't know where it was going to take me. All I knew was I want to study art. I want to go into Islamic art. I want to know how they've made these geometry patterns because I tried so many times as a kid. I didn't know that you needed a compass. That was one thing I never knew about. And then as time flew by, it was like, right, okay, now things are starting to piece together. Now it kind of makes sense to me. And so yeah, I mean, I was very young. I mean, I'm saying 12, but I'd say my teenage years,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. So when I got to my GCSEs and I did my art degree, again, I based it on Islamic art at high school and at college, and it was just where I was getting drawn to every time. I was seeing other things, but it was just nothing else appealed to me. And my teachers would constantly say to me, Raanaz, you need to pull away from this because even they didn't know much about it. So they couldn't even teach me much. They couldn't teach me too much. I had to do all the research myself. And luckily, by the time I kind of got to high school and I was a bit older, started understanding more about libraries and things, and then I'd go on the weekends and try and find some books and things. So that kind of helped me. But it was just there. I was just kind of automatically drawn to it all the time. And my teachers were like, no, you need to do this. You need to base this on Van Gogh. You need to do, and Klimpton. And I worked on all of those. Yeah, they were great, but
Yeah.
I felt like they didn't give me that strength that Islamic art was giving me, that geometry, that
Yeah.
floral designs, and these mosaic tiles, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I felt like they weren't. It wasn't the same as that. I just felt there was so much more history behind all this Islamic art that I wanted to know about. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant.
Mm.
Now, I've obviously known you now for a good few years from my previous work with Siddiqa as her business manager. And for people who don't know your style or who are unfamiliar with your work,
Mm.
how would you describe your work to a newer audience?
How would I describe it? Contemporary and traditional at the same time. Like I said, I'm a textile artist, so my work is all based on silk. I have glass work that I work on as well, but again, I incorporate silk velvet into my glass work. So I just feel that's my tiny little tiny little home that I've got. That with my textile degree, with all the experience that I've had, that's what my work is based on. I mean, when I first came out of university with the textile degree, I didn't know how to then start putting that together. So it took me a good number of years to start really mastering how to work with silk in such an intricate way without the colors all bleeding when I'm painting and to making the chemistry in the silk change so that it would dye a certain way or so that it would hold my paints a certain way. And that's how I would describe my work. Now,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Well, I mean, as somebody who's been fortunate enough to see your original pieces in real life, I have to say that what really blew me away was your textile work over and above everything else. It's something that is so unique to you, something that is so special, and something that very few people really understand how difficult that type of art is and how difficult it is to get that balance right. As you were talking about the chemistry involved in what you do, there is actually a whole science behind the art. And I would really encourage our viewers and people who are following our page to actually check out your work on your own site, because it really is very, very special work. So I think what I wanted to do now was to come back to what we discussed earlier. We touched upon the times of COVID-19 and how everyone at the moment is stuck indoors. Alhamdulillah, a lot of us are looking at this as a great blessing, especially for this holy month. One of the things that we've come across when we've been talking to people is people are finding it quite difficult right now to think creatively and to be creative. And even if we take ourselves to just before Ramadan started, when lockdown began, a lot of artists kind of just stop producing because there was a lot of worry about how we're going to make ends meet. You know, a lot of artists rely purely on their income that they make from their art.
Yeah.
And so what we did on our, I don't know if you saw it on our website, is we wrote an article about how to kind of get your creative mojo back. And one of the things that we recommend is to just stop watching the news, because there's so much negativity out there, there's so much fear mongering out there, that it can be probably the biggest inhibitor to creativity. Now, I'm not an artist, you know, unfortunately Allah didn't give me that talent, but I work with enough artists to kind of understand the psyche behind it. So for you, Raanaz, I mean, how have you, I suppose, managed to remain creative throughout this period of lockdown and quarantine?
You know, the thing is, I mean, everybody is different. Everybody works in different ways. Everyone is inspired in different ways. And I get all my inspiration from my children when I see them all happy, and I realize, you know what, children are always just happy and playing all the time. They don't know what's going on in the world, and obviously they know about COVID, but they, you know, they don't know in detail the dangers of it and the things that it does. And I was sat there one day, and I just sort of noticed that I said to my husband, look, you know, there's every message that I'm getting on WhatsApp, or whether it's Facebook or whether it's Instagram, it's so negative. I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know what's real anymore. And I said, I'm just going to mute all my groups. And that's what I did. No offense to all my friends and family out there. But it helped. And now what I do is I switch off from everything. I mute, all my groups are muted, apart from the odd few that I need. So, like my mum's teacher, you know, the teachers groups and teaching my children on anything. Those important ones. Anything else for me now is switched off, and I go back to it in the evening once everything's done, and then I'll go through the thousands of messages that are there, and I'll go through them. But the problem is, it only takes one message to make you feel so down. It could be the way it's written. It could be that it's an image of something, and then that's it. And it demotivates you so much, and it's so dangerous to have that there all the time. You know, obviously people are trying to share what's happening, and they're trying to spread the news, and that's great in some ways. But I just think that sometimes you have to switch off from the world. You have to switch off from reality. And when I did that, all of a sudden, and it was the Easter holidays, and all of a sudden I just started feeling very different again, and back to my normal self of, right, okay, now that's it. I mean, I don't know, my latest piece that's on my Instagram at the moment, that was it. I was sat there one day and I was just thinking, right, what can I do with my artwork? I want, now that I've got all this time, I need to do something. And all of a sudden I was just working and working and working, and as I was working, I still hadn't finished that piece, and I've already come up with another idea, and my brain just sort of really exploded into all this happy, positive thoughts again. And even my children, they finally got to see me sitting at home for hours just working away. And my youngest, who's only 4, she turned around to me and said, Mummy, you really do love your artwork so much. You haven't moved all day.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and then I thought, you know, this is so nice that my children are seeing that. And it made me realize that, hang on a minute, if I'm sat there miserable, they're also seeing that as well. And I don't want them to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want them to just have that negative vibe around them all the time. I don't want that. So, you know, we switched the TV off. I was like, right, let's play some games. Let's do, you know, read some books. Let's do this. Let's do that. And that's how we've ended up dealing with it as a family together. And then what was really nice was my eldest sat with me and tried to recreate parts of what I was working on in her own way. And it just got her thinking as well, which was so nice. So it took her mind off everything. It took my mind off everything, my husband's mind as well. You know, his work increased. It just tripled overnight. So it just kind of, it helped all of us. It was just so nice to switch off from all that negativity that's going on, which isn't deliberate, but obviously it's there, and, you know, we kind of need to know the stuff as well. But I think there's a time, there's a right time for that stuff.
But has it kind of made you more creative now, or have you just been really busy with homeschooling and cooking and whatever, sorting out whatever it is around your husband to like not even think about the artwork right now. I mean, are you feeling like you're getting back to a more creative space, or do you feel like you haven't really lost that creative space throughout all of this?
I don't think I lost it fully because my life was always quite busy anyway. The
Yeah,
only thing is I don't have the school runs anymore, and Alhamdulillah, my husband's home and he's very hands-on with the kids. So
amazing.
I've
Good.
never needed to worry. Even when this didn't happen, he was always very hands-on with them. So whenever he knows I'm sat down, it's, oh no, Raanaz is sat down. No, nobody go near her now. She needs to complete what she's doing. And I think that when you start seeing that, and you've got that the word that sort of when you're at ease and you know that everything else is being looked after, you can then focus and you can just forget about everything else and you
Mm,
can just get on with it. And because of that, I've ended up with so many more ideas. The only thing is, yes, since they started back at school, homeschooling has really taken over. So that has been difficult. So since it started, from that moment, I've not even touched my artwork. It's just still sat there where it's sat there, and I would love to get back to it. But now, mashallah, Ramadan's here, so I
yeah.
can't, because the only time I would then be able to get back to my work was in the evenings. Now, mashallah, in the evenings we're opening fast. I'm getting dinner ready, tarawih, namaz, then
Yeah.
bedtime up again. So while Ramadan happens, I tend to slow down a bit on things, on my own artwork, and I focus more on Ramadan, my children, and just generally the household. There's so much going on in
Of
Ramadan,
course,
isn't
of
there?
course, yeah. I mean, are you encouraging your own daughters? I know you've got two little girls. Are you encouraging your own daughters to kind of pursue creative hobbies, or I mean, are both of them or either of them very creatively inclined like you were as a child?
I don't stop them at all. If they want to be creative, they can be creative. I mean, if the eldest every week is changing her mind. 1 minute she wants to be like her daddy who's in IT, then she wants to be like mummy who's an artist, then she decides that she wants to be an archaeologist, or there's so many different things that she's been talking about that she wants to do. I'm never going to stop her from doing whatever she wants to. If they want to go down that creative route,
Mm,
myself and my husband will 100% support them, whichever route they want to go down. And what's really nice is my eldest anyway, she has seen my struggles, so she understands it, which is really nice because she knows then how hard or sometimes how cruel the world can be sometimes. And because sometimes she hears me talking to my husband about things that happened when I was younger and about certain things that were said to me about my artwork and things like that. And so she's seen all that, and so she knows,
mm,
but it's never stopped her. She still says, I want to be really good, like you one day, mummy. I want to do this and I
oh,
want to do
that's
that.
lovely.
And I will never stop them. They can do whatever they want when they grow up. I really don't mind.
Good. I mean, people who follow your Instagram will have probably maybe seen your Insta stories where your kids are doing, creative activities with you. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for parents out there who want to give their kids some more creative activities to do, during this period of lockdown? Have you got any advice for them? Any suggestions about exercises or things that they can do with their kids to get those creative juices flowing and to just kind of get them engaged in something other than watching Disney Plus or Netflix?
Absolutely. And, at the moment, the only places we can go to is our garden, front garden or back garden,
Yeah.
whichever one you want to go to,
If you
that's
have a
all.
garden, if you have a garden.
If you have a garden, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, even if anything can be creative. Now, I've been doing so in the Easter holidays. It was really hot and sunny, so my kids went through lots of lollipops. So we kept plenty of them, lots of ice lollies, lots of
Yeah,
you name it. We
good.
kept the lollipop sticks. We kept them all, and I said to the kids, "This will come in handy for crafts." And we kept, we went out into the garden. We put, leaves on the floor. We collected leaves, twigs, stones, and so my youngest was like, "What are we going to do with this?" And I was like, "I don't have a clue what we're going to do with this. Let's just bring it all together." And now that time has gone by and we're running out of things to do, we've been pulling all these things out that we've been collecting, and we're just putting them together. And I'm teaching my kids about things. Like yesterday I was teaching them about the leaves that we'd collected. Why don't you draw around these leaves, have a look at the vines on them? Why don't you make something out of it? Get your lollipop sticks out. And now Ramadan is here, we've been collecting all the date seeds, and my daughter's been using them to count her numbers when she's been doing her number lessons.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
yeah, everything. Even if you can't go outside, there's so much stuff inside your house that
Yeah.
I'm sure gathering dust, things that you might not necessarily need, chop it up and do something with it. Anything that comes to your mind, go on YouTube, have a look at creative ideas, what you can do with this, even pieces of string and wool. There's so many ideas. That's the amazing thing about art, is it's not right and wrong, and you can do whatever you want. And that's one of the things that I think about it.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's you can't do anything right and wrong. I love that. That's going to be one of the messages that we take away from this. Okay, so you mentioned just in what you were saying just now that your daughter, your eldest daughter, has seen some of the struggles that you had in your earlier career. And I mean, look, we all know that being an artist is not necessarily a very easy profession for people who, you know, who are very artistically inclined and they want to make money from this. It's something that they really have to work very, very hard at to build up a client base, to build up a reputation, all of those things. And as you know, Raanaz, because you're one of our foundational artists, you're one of the pillars of IslamicArtPrints.com. One of our the overriding principles, really, that when we set out to create IslamicArtPrints.com was to provide artists with a means to a global audience so they could start building their reputation, but also as a means to be able to make a living from not necessarily just in the sale of their prints, but certainly to have the print sales as something that's just kind of churning away in the background, which will allow them to concentrate then on building their client base when it comes to selling original paintings or creations, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Now, really, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, you know, you very kindly agreed to be part of our Art of Ramadan campaign. So 50% of the proceeds are going towards Human Appeal's COVID-19 fundraiser. We're doing that with the Emerald Network. For you, in terms of your journey as an artist, tell us a bit about how you have kind of built your own profile. What have you done? What proactive steps have you taken to build your own profile, to get your work out there, to get your name out there? Because you're an award-winning artist, mashallah. We know you've won some pretty prestigious awards, and you know you've traveled, you've been to places like Iran and places like that. Tell us a bit about what you've done. What advice would you give really to up-and-coming artists who really want to have this professional career, a good, solid career, the way that you've struggled to do it, but you've got there, alhamdulillah? What advice would you give them?
You know, the key is you said it before, you've got to work really hard. You're not going to get given anything on a plate. You have to do everything yourself. And that means if you're going to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning working on a piece, just even if it's not there to be sold, if you're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, you stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning and you get it done. The more you're churning out, the more art pieces you're churning out, means the more work and exposure you can get. You can show people what you're capable of. You can show people, aha, look, this is what I've done. One of the things I noticed was that with my followers, they've really enjoyed my stories, my process of how one piece starts and to where it ends. And they've also seen, what my followers that have been following me for a long time, they've seen the pieces that I was making 7-8 years ago to what I was making now. And it all comes down to, yes, you've got to work hard. You've got to, even if it means at the beginning, and I know some people probably won't agree with me, but it worked for me. And I did a lot of charity work, and I donated a lot of pieces to charity, just because I wanted to anyway. And that helped as well, without me realizing that actually helped. people started noticing me. I started getting phone calls from people, or I was attending events and I was taking my business cards with me, and all of a sudden, like Instagram and Facebook are brilliant. They're great platforms. Sometimes as well, like sometimes you might be talking to somebody and they're interested in something, but they might not even contact you for another year or 2 years. But they then find you on these social media platforms, and they think, yes, this is that girl I was talking to. Yes, right, okay, so this is what she's done now. And in the meantime, I've been working on pieces, whether I've got an exhibition or not. I've just been working on pieces, just ideas, just putting them down, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's been accurate, whether it's not been so perfect. I did not care. I did what I needed to do, and I put it out there. And what helped me was, as I did that, I started realizing my mistakes, and I started developing those, and I started working more on those and fixing those little skills where I wasn't so accurate, or where it wasn't so perfect, it wasn't a perfect line. I just went over it 1,000 times until it got to a stage where I couldn't go anymore. And I get a lot of people, some people do say to me, Raanaz, we've seen now from when you started, and what you're developing now is just crazy. And Sadiqa, a couple of years ago, when we did an exhibition in Manchester, I just had my second daughter, and when I met Sadiqa at the exhibition, we were exhibiting together, one of the first things she said to me was, Raanaz, since you've come back from your maternity leave, you have just gone crazy with your art. It's just
that's the benefit of having kids, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just, I need something more. But I wouldn't have got here if I didn't work hard. But also, you do need supportive people around you. You need a strong, solid foundation. For somebody to, there's times where I was stressing so much, this has gone wrong, that's gone wrong, and my husband was there to say, Raanaz, just chill, just relax, come away from it for now, just for 10 minutes, come away, because I can tell you're not yourself right now. And he's getting it.
To have people around you that know you so well and know when you need to be able to take that break. Tell me a bit about, give me some information. I mean, what would you consider to be your personal favorite pieces of your own that you've done? Your top two. Give me your top two.
You can't ask me that. That's such a hard question. You know what? I think it's kind of a mixture for their own different reasons. I love my silk stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love your silk stuff.
Thank you. I think, but I'll tell you why I like my silk stuff. It's because I don't know what it's going to look like when it's going to finish. And that's the biggest part of it, because sometimes what happens is you have this end result and it's just in your head. By the time you get to the end, it's just like, yeah, I've seen this 10 times. That's it now. And that's it. Whereas what I love about my silk is when like some people say to me, right, I love this piece, but I want it exactly like that. And I'm like, I can't do that. That's not possible. When I dye my silk fabrics, it's all in the accuracy of all the chemicals and things that I'm putting in that silk, and where I've dropped the dye for it to merge together, and the quantity and all of this. So every piece I make with my silk stuff is always very, very different. But then equally, I do love my glass stuff because of the modern aspect of it. And it's really, especially now I've started doing all this marbling stuff, it's just opened a whole new door for me. It's kind of switched away from the traditional stuff slightly. And don't get me wrong, I love that. That's one of my favorite parts, the traditional stuff. But sometimes it's just nice to get away and see what else is out there. So when I do my silk stuff, I do love when I've started doing all this marbling, and I don't know what it's going to look like. The only thing is with my glass stuff, is that I'm so nervous because I'm so scared I might break the glass. That's about it. But yeah, so there's two different, I like both of them, but in their very different ways. But if you did ask me, it would be my silk stuff all the way. every step of the way. That's going to
Good to
be my
hear.
that's
Good
my
to hear.
baby.
What is your biggest frustration as an artist?
Biggest frustration.
Be as
Well,
honest as you like.
yeah.
I said be as honest as you like.
Oh, goodness me. You don't want me to do that. um, I would say it's probably the frustration is probably not being able to complete some of my pieces. I
Mm.
must have about 5 or 6 different pieces. I've got 2 or 3 that are right there right now, which I started 5 years ago, and I still haven't had the chance to be able to finish those.
Yeah.
So things like that, time. The other thing that really frustrates me is when somebody asks me for a price and they don't even say hello to me. That's what really frustrates me. I haven't said it.
Manners are free, aren't they,
Yeah,
Raanaz? Manners are free.
yeah. Just salam or hello will be enough,
Exactly.
Not just
Exactly.
how much is this, and then not even say which piece you're talking about. It really does not help. It really doesn't.
Look, I mean, you've given us, some really beautiful insight into your life, into what it is that you do, into your inspirations, and really, it's been such a really great conversation for me to do as my first interview with an artist. I'll be honest. If you were to look back at the end of, I don't want to say the end of your life, at the end of your career, let's say you're a 80-year-old granny, great grandmother, whatever it might be, and you're
Yeah.
looking back over your life, first of all, what is it that you would have hoped you would have accomplished? And secondly, I suppose to date, what would you consider to be your greatest accomplishment as an artist?
To be honest, I never thought I'd even get to this stage at all. It was never about that. It was never about what I can achieve right at the end. It was just, this is what I wanted to do, and that's it. So my biggest achievement so far is when I got invited to Hong Kong for this award. That was
Tell people
just
about the award. Tell people about why you were invited to Hong Kong and what the award was for.
that was with the WCA. It was a World Contemporary Arts Organization, and they did this thing on Facebook where they contacted, I think it was like over 1,000 different artists around the world, and they looked at all their artwork and their profiles and things, and I didn't have a clue about what they were actually doing. They contacted me and they said, "Oh, we saw your profile, really like your work, it's beautiful," and all of this stuff. And then about a month or 2 later, they said to me, "Right, we've narrowed down worldwide to 1,000 artists. We'd like you to give us a brief summary of why you're an artist and how you came down, similar to what you're asking me, how you came down this route." And I sent all that in. I wasn't really sure what it was for, but I thought, okay, fine, it'll be something. And then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, they then sent me another message and said, "Can you submit I think it was like a 3-minute video of your work and of your journey?" So I was like, "Oh, right, okay, this sounds interesting." So it's like, right, which clients can I contact? And and I'd done a really amazing glass piece in Manchester for somebody on their outside window. So I thought, right, I need to get that in this video, and I just sort of put like a quick video together of a few images of my work, talking about my work, how I went through my whole journey, and how I got to this stage. And literally, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, okay, fine, I'll make this video, I'll send it in. I sent it in, and then they got back to me another 2 months later and said, "Congratulations, you've now been selected out of 100 people
Amazing.
yeah, to come to Hong Kong, and we've got these awards going on, and I just kept thinking, is this even real? This can't be real. They're just taking all my information from me. And I kept saying to my husband, this can't be right. And then literally, then that following November, we booked the tickets very reluctantly. Wasn't sure what was going on. I was so nervous about it. We got there, and I won one of the. And then out of those 100 people, only 20 people won an award, and I was one of them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
So that was great.
So that's been your greatest achievement to date. What do you want to accomplish? Is there one ultimate goal or ambition that you have, you know, before you're a great grandmother in your 80s, or do you want to be creating until the end of your days? I mean, have you got any really massive ambitions that you want?
I would love, 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 love to be able to open my own little art school. That's something I've always wanted to do. I'd love to carry on with my own stuff as well, but I think there's going to get to an age where, oh, little old me isn't going to be able to cope. So yeah, I would love to be able to teach those skills that I have, but I'm not ready for that yet. And I know I'm not ready for that yet. I've still got more to explore yet. I've still got more pieces, more artwork that I want to make, and new ideas that I want to try, different techniques, which I haven't had a chance to do yet. So I think by the time I'm 80 odd, as you said, I would love to be able to have achieved all of those. I would love to be able to design something for some massive celebrity out there.
I mean, you've got your fair share of celebrities. Why don't you tell the audience, people who are watching, why don't you tell them some of the celebrities that you've done commissions for?
So I've done stuff for Afshan Azid. She was Padma Patel in Harry Potter. I have done something for Yasmin Karimi, who was in Desi Rascals. My biggest one, actually two of my biggest ones, were Farial and Amr Khan. I did a wooden piece that's proven to be so popular. It's been so popular. And I'm really sorry, everybody that's been inquiring about that. I can't make it anymore, not through this lockdown. I have to sit there with a jigsaw trying to cut. I can't do it. I'm so sorry. Not through the lockdown anyway. And then one of my other biggest ones was Shahid Afridi, the Pakistani cricket player. He was
amazing. So in closing, we've actually gone over the 40-minute, which is great because, you know, it means we've had a really great conversation. What final messages have you got for your followers or people who are following IslamicArtPrints.com or the Islamic Art Prints Instagram page? What final message have you got for them all? It could be for Ramadan or just generally.
I think you don't have to be an artist to just sit down and switch off from the world, especially with all this COVID stuff going on, this lockdown going on. It's so therapeutic to just sit down and just draw and sketch and, you know, doodle, whatever you want to do, things that you weren't able to do as a child. And my other message would be, don't let anybody stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. If you want to be an artist, go for it. And there's no age for when you become an artist. And even if now you've got children and you're 50 years old and you want to go down this route, you go down this route. Don't let anybody stop you, because when you're being creative, it changes your whole inner person. It changes how you think, and you just become more positive and happier in life. Whether it's not even being an artist, just follow your dream. I mean, the biggest thing is, yes, be an artist, but, you know, I know so many people who say to me that when they were younger, their parents didn't let them go down that route, and now they want to go down that route. And if you can do that, and if you're lucky enough to do it, then go through it. And if you ever need any help, feel free to contact me. I'll always help you whenever I can.
Raanaz Shahid, thank you so much for this conversation today. It's been a real pleasure. It's an honor to have you on IslamicArtPrints.com. To all of our followers, to people who are watching this today, I would strongly urge you to go and check out Raanaz's work on our website, IslamicArtPrints.com, and all of the other artists, of course, as well. We are currently in the middle of the Art of Ramadan campaign 50% of the profits of that go to supporting artists like Raanaz, and 50% goes to supporting the COVID-19 campaign for Human Appeal. Thank you so much for your time, Raanaz.
Thank you so
Ramadan Mubarak to you, your family. Wish you a really beautiful month. I hope it's amazing for all of you. And we'll keep in touch.
Yes, inshallah, yes, definitely. Yay,
All
I
right.
like conversations.
Brilliant. You take
Allah,
care. Okay.
you too.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, Allah Hafiz.